look at your boss, look at their life, look at the way that they act, and how healthy are they, what are their relationships like with their families, etc. And 90% of the time, you don't want to be that guy. And that's the guy that you're working so hard to be. So if you don't want their life, why are you working day and night, 40 hours a week, 9 to 5 plus extra hours to be that guy? You don't want to be that guy. So what guy do you want to be? And that, when I heard that, I was like, wow. And that changed everything.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Need to Succeed podcast, where we have incredible conversations with phenomenal entrepreneurs just to understand what is the need to succeed. Because here's the thing, two people can go through the exact same situation. One person decides because of that situation, they can no longer achieve the things that they want to achieve in life. And the other person decides because of the exact same situation, they absolutely have to achieve everything they've ever wanted to achieve. Same scenario, different outcome. What is the mindset of the successful entrepreneur? That is exactly what we look to uncover on this podcast. And today we have an absolutely incredible entrepreneur. He is a content creator. I've been following a lot of his stuff more recently. I thought this is really, really good. Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to find out for yourself. Please join me in welcoming entrepreneur and the founder of Up the Games podcast, Mr. Sammie Ellard-King.
Hello, mate. Good to be here, man.
Yeah. We've just been talking. We was mixing around the same environments, the same people, Southampton, Junk, all of these areas. I'm like, yo, I haven't spoken to someone in years who was actually in that mix.
Oh, man, same time as well.
Yeah.
Crazy, man.
There's no way our paths didn't cross, especially you said you were running Junk at one point. Junk, listen, if you was in Southampton, 08 to 010, if you were not in Junk, what were you doing?
I have no idea.
What were you doing? Junk on the first day night. What were you doing? You were not uni. What were you doing?
No, I don't like Junk, Orange Rooms, Rhino.
Hey, jungle.
Yeah,
we used to call Rhino the jungle.
Yeah, oh man.
I'm not going to talk about the reason for that, but let's say we used to go hunting, put it that way. Right?
Yeah.
Incredible times, man, incredible times. But listen, bro, before we go down the deep, dirty path, this is a serious podcast. Yeah, with serious conversations with serious people. But generally, what you're doing is absolutely incredible. But before we get into all of that, we have a tradition on the podcast. So there's only two set questions, the first and the last one. Mm-hmm. So we'll go with the first one, which is, what does success actually mean to you?
Freedom. I think to be able to choose who you spend your time with, when you spend that time, and being able to have choice as well in what from the work that you've put in, it provides you choice. Like, for example, I woke up this morning and I went to the gym, I walked my dog. I wasn't chained to a desk at 9 a.m. And that makes such an enormous difference to life before, when I was in marketing, running companies for years, but I was always there at 9 o'clock. And just having that difference in life, like being able to switch on and switch off when I want to, and, going through sprints of work and then having a couple of days off. And those days off could be a Tuesday or a Thursday, doesn't necessarily matter to me. That for me feels like success.
Yeah. Absolutely. And when you say like freedom, for example, I don't think someone could not be any more apt coming from someone like yourself, because once we kind of get into exactly what you do, this whole content that you create, actually when you're saying that, I'm like, yeah, because you're trying to live this lazy lifestyle. Yeah, but like it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? It's about being prudent, but it's not about just being prudent and like scrimping and scraping. It's like, no, you can actually you can do good and you can live good, right? So yeah, we're definitely going to get into that, but yeah, the freedom side of it just makes sense, man. It just makes so much sense. I mean, Chris, who's the studio producer, we're just talking earlier on and saying, in 2024, if you're not first of all, if you're not willing to work hard, you're just going to get crushed.
100%.
Right? You're just going to get crushed because there's so many opportunities out there right now. People are starting to understand that actually there are so many things that we can do. And if you're not tapping into all of these things, first of all, you're dead. But if you're not actually just putting in work, then again, you're just going to get crushed because there's just so many more people understanding. Whoa, hang on. What, you mean we can make money doing this? I'm in, right? And then if you're just trying to tiptoe around it, you're just going to get crushed. But the ability to be able to create financial freedom, and obviously, financial freedom for me anyway kind of stems from that. I think I've never been someone who chases money. That's just the truth. But when I look at the reality of the world and look at, the quality of life I want for myself, my loved ones and my kids and everything else, like I need to be financially free to be able to actually afford, that lifestyle, right? So that's why I kind of put both of those things, hand in hand. How do you view that?
I completely agree with you. For me, it's financial freedom means different things for different people, and understanding what that is for yourself before you go out and start to seek it is really important. And that can adapt over a period of time as things happen in your life. But knowing that early, and I like to work things backwards. So I have like a step plan, let's say, for example, 5 steps, and then I break each step down into 3 smaller steps, with the first step being something, and then the 3 bottom ones there, so 15 in total.
Mm-hmm.
The first step is something that I can achieve in the next sort of 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even a month. And if you start to break it down like that, actually the goal at the end becomes really achievable, because you're only actually just working on one thing at a time. Whereas a lot of people get that paralysis where they look up and they go, how on earth am I going to get to that goal? Because it seems so far away from me right now. But actually, if you start small and think big, it actually becomes really achievable along the way.
Such a good point. But don't you think there's almost like a cognitive dissonance? I don't want to use big words and all that sort of stuff, right? But I respect the audience. You guys know what I'm talking about. Yeah. But when it comes down to what needs to be achieved, and also the realistic timescale that can be achieved, versus what work people are willing to put into it. Because what you just said there to me makes so much sense. But as soon as you said 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks at the first step, I was already thinking, people don't want to do that. What, first step a month? I'm trying to achieve that goal today, like tomorrow. And like, how do people get past that?
It's a really tough one. Like, we live in a materialistic world at the moment, especially driven by the whole social media culture, where it's like Lambo life in Dubai, and we kind of get like looking at these people thinking that that's possible, and they talk about overnight success and look at me, I did X, Y, and Z amount in a day. And yes, those things are possible, but overnight success is not. And people now have this kind of, how do I get rich tomorrow aspect, right now, like today. And they don't realize the sacrifice that it takes to go on in that kind of journey. Like for me, even building up the gains, like we're in year 4 now. Only now, after thousands of hours of work, is it now really kicking into gear. But most people will quit after month 1 because their first podcast episode doesn't blow up, or they put a reel up on social media and it doesn't get 6 million views. There's a process you need to go through, and actually people are so scared of failure, and failure is actually, you should embrace failure. You should literally see like failure as a good thing rather than a bad thing. And if you can try and get yourself into that mentality, because every failure is a lesson, and that's the only way you can move forward as an entrepreneur. It's the only way you can move forward in life. Like, you want to go for that job, you didn't get it, all right, it wasn't meant to be. What's next? Are you going to let that deter you from moving job for the rest of your life? Or are you going to go out and go, no, I'm better than that. What can I learn from that experience to help me improve myself on the next time that I go and step into that room? I'm ready, and I'm going to get that role. And perhaps it might be even $5,000 more than the last one. And you're ready. You know the questions that are coming for you. You weren't ready the first time. That's not a failure. That is a lesson learned. And you are a better person because of it. Because you're putting yourself in these kinds of situations, you're pushing yourself, you're moving yourself forwards. And for me, that should be the mantra for anyone in life. Constantly learn. Steve Jobs said it, never stop learning. And it's the most powerful sentence ever in life, because the moment you stop learning, you stop living. as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they say, I don't know who said it, but yeah, if you're not growing, then you're dying, which obviously makes all the sense in the world. Because what are you living for? If you're just waking up and just plodding along, you start to die. It's like when people get older and they retire, and they're not doing anything active. A lot of these people just die.
Yeah.
Because the brain needs something to actually be progressing, something to be pushing it. But how did this journey will begin for you?
Well, Southampton Uni start. Let's leave that one there. No, but it's important actually. I started running nights there, and got a job running bigger nights. Moved up, but for me that was the first real experience. When I was 16, I was selling like G-Unit t-shirts and Averex jackets that I got from the US on eBay at school and stuff like that. So I've always had this kind of little thing in me, like, oh, how do I make money doing that? But the problem that I had is that I was never taught the value of a pound. And so every bit of money I got was going waxed on better trainers, more experiences, looking cool, putting alloys on my cars or whatever that might well be, right? And what happened to me was, after university, we turn up on the first day often, if you go to university, and they go to you, here's a $2,000 overdraft and a credit card. And you go, nice. Mum and dad ain't around. Like, let's go. And then basically that cycle of debt really kicked on for me. I was taking debt out to cover debt. And by the time I was about 25 years old, I had £24,000 in personal credit card debt and loans and personal payday loans. And I was sitting, actually, I went traveling with a friend to Vietnam, and he turned around and he said to me, when do you want to retire? And I said, 50 would be nice. And he said, all right, cool. When do you want to die? And I said, well, it'd be nice to get to 80. That'd be a nice number. He said, how much do you spend a year? I said, about 30 grand. And he goes, oh, okay, cool. Times that number by that number. Do you have that? And I was like, that's 900 grand. I got minus 24. So no, and that's when I broke down. I hadn't told anyone about my debt. And, luckily he was a good friend. He was doing really well for himself at the time as well. And we had a literal chat, and he put me on the kind of pathway of learning about money. And so I went away. I was actually doing really well. I was a head of marketing, for a hospitality group at 25. So I was earning good money, but I was just spunking up the wall basically. And so I went away, learned everything I could possibly do. I dove into every single book, course, YouTube video. And what I was noticing was that it was, especially for the UK, personal finance was heavily geared towards Americans, and or needed an Oxford dictionary literally to understand what the hell these people were saying, right? And that's finance. That's why these banks make all these money. So I learned that, and obviously with my marketing hat on, when COVID hit, we had all that time, and I was thinking about this, and I was helping people with their finances, friends, family members, and I'd grown a little WhatsApp group as well, and that had about 50 people in it at a time. And then that WhatsApp group in COVID just exploded because everyone wanted to know about money during COVID. And what I realized was that, I was asking people, have you got nowhere to go to learn this type of stuff? And they were like, no, we don't, Martin Lewis is amazing. Hats off to him, king of personal finance in the UK, but wasn't really talking about stuff that was relatable to the everyday person. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to try and fill this void. So I started writing blog posts, built websites, taught myself kind of everything there was to know, started a podcast. And yeah, it's just kind of exploded from there. But, as I say, this is sort of 3.5, 4 years of a long road. I sold, I went into business with a couple of friends in a hospitality group in central London. And then, I sold my shares April last year, and here we are today, man.
Wow. That's crazy, man. But there's just so many different layers to get into. So I'm gonna go back, wind it back to Southampton again. We're gonna end up in Southampton. So first of all, you started uni in Southampton 09?
I finished 10.
You finished 10. So you started 08 or 07?
07.
07. You started in 07. And when did you actually get into, nightclub promotions?
So I was studying music production.
Yeah.
So I was making beats. I was doing loads of stuff, working with a load of cool artists, singers, rappers at the time. And I was having a lot of fun. And I wanted to do music production, but basically the gap was that all of the bigger clubs had all of their promoters, and they weren't putting on, and there was like this kind of electronic music kind of the Disclosure vibe was just kicking off, and there was no one really covering that. So me and a friend were like, hang on, there's a gap here. We managed to book Disclosure as well for £100 before they were big, but we'd heard a couple of their songs on YouTube, and we sold out our night, and we were like, wow, like we just did this and we barely even like promoted it. Just to like basically freshers, people that we knew, filled up the whole room within minutes. And suddenly from that, I was like, okay, we've got an opportunity here. And my whole family are in music or events and restaurants and bars, so kind of come naturally to me to fit into that world. So yeah, we went for it, man, and we just started throwing nights and having a lot of fun, and that was kind of the beginning, really.
So I'm guessing that was something, obviously, if your whole family's in it, is it something that you were passionate about, something that you actually wanted to get into? At which point did you transition from that into marketing?
Yeah, I think I would say that the reason why I'm doing Up the Gains now is because actually I fell into that because it was what my family did and what felt natural to me, and I was good at it. It wasn't necessarily what I wanted, and so that just happened. And because I loved music and it was a way for me to be in the music scene and book amazing people that I loved and stuff like that, and I get to meet all these cool people, go to all these amazing shows and festivals and stuff. It was cool, it was fun, and early 20s, man, like what a life. Like, it was great fun, but it was burning holes in my bank balance and put it that way, and my health. But that's another question for another day. The thing is that it just felt easy to me at the time, but when we had that reset in COVID, that was like my big like, shit, I don't actually know if I ever want to go back to doing this again.
So were you doing that all the way through to COVID, or were you working in marketing, or were you working in marketing but doing the thing on the side? Yeah,
sorry, I got a bit sidetracked there. So yeah, the transition to marketing was running nights, and our own nights. I was learning about how to promote the shows. The harder shows needed pushing a lot more. I was learning about creating cool artwork, flyering, digital, social media was kicking off then. Facebook was growing massively, So how do we promote these nights? How do we get them out there? How do we get people through the door? And how's that translate to ticket sales? And obviously marketing is just a form of sales, really, when you look at it. And so it was kind of a learning process. And obviously as we scaled that up and I started working for some of the clubs, I really just kind of loved that whole, like, if I do this makes X amount of people buy these tickets, this night fills up, and it's a great feeling when that happens. And suddenly you're like, all of my efforts from moment one to this have culminated in this experience. And then suddenly I realized that actually this could be translated to pretty much anything. So I went into kind of more the food aspect. So I was doing larger street food markets, so Street Feast in central London, and that's when I moved back to London. That's my first real sort of major job in London.
Well, you was marketing for them, or you were driving traffic to like a particular food stall?
No, just straight for Street Feast. So they had the multitude of different. Do you know Street Feast?
No.
It used to be massive. So they had like Dinorama and Shoreditch. Which was super cool. It's like a complex of different bars and loads of different street food traders. But it's very like put together. The founder, Jonathan Downey, was a wicked guy. Slightly crazy, but wicked guy. And the concept was sick. So, my job was to bring people in, and I absolutely loved it. And I've just kind of gone from there, worked my way up into different sort of larger hospitality groups, and then eventually started my own with a couple of friends of mine.
No, crazy. So you started your own marketing company?
No, started our own hospitality chain. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what you're talking about in Central London, the one you just sold shares in?
Yeah.
So how much did you make? No, I'm joking. You're like, did you just ask me that?
Covered me for a year or so, put it that way.
Get HMRC knocking on your door, man.
Don't tell no one.
Okay, cool. Oh, wow. So that's actually something that's been built. How many years?
So I was there just under 3 years. So we did 3 years, from literally first site and left. We had 4. So it was really good fun. Like, I loved it.
Yeah.
But I also just realised that it wasn't my calling, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There's only so far I could go with that. And then when I like to say this to people because it was an exercise. Basically, I come across this as an entrepreneur called Brian Lubin, US guy, slightly controversial with some of the things he comes out with. But what he did say was, look at your boss, look at their life, look at the way that they act, and how healthy are they? What are their relationships like with their families, etc. And 90% of the time, you don't want to be that guy. And that's the guy that you're working so hard to be. So if you don't want their life, why are you working day and night, 40 hours a week, 9 to 5 plus extra hours to be that guy? You don't want to be that guy. So what guy do you want to be? And that, when I heard that, I was like, wow. And that changed everything.
Wow, that's powerful, man. That's crazy. Very true. I'm just trying to process that. That is so true, because in terms of like my coaching business, my target audience is aspiring entrepreneurs, but more specifically is employees, who want to replace their income. And it is a powerful thought to just think about, I'm just trying to think of, from a marketing standpoint, which is, like, is this the person that you want to become? Because if you're working for a corporation, there is a hierarchy. Right? And the hierarchy goes, you might be here, and then there's the next person, there's the next person, there's the next person, there's the next person. If you're looking along that hierarchy, that chart, and there's none of these people that you actually, want to be like, aspire to, then what are you doing there? Right? What are you doing there if you don't actually want their life? So, that's such a great way to look at it. But hospitality during COVID.
Brutal.
How was that, bro?
Brutal. Absolutely brutal, man. Like, we had opened 3 months before. We had a full diary as well.
No furlough?
Some furlough.
Some? Oh, that's lucky.
Some. We'd opened 3 months before the second lockdown as well. The second venue. 3 months before that second lockdown. We had a full diary that Christmas. The whole Christmas. I think it was about 250 grand we had confirmed. And in one day it just went boom, disappeared. And then we're back home for another 6 months. And it was just the most insane experience.
Yeah.
Just, you don't know when you're going to open. Obviously that whole like eat out to help out to whatever it was.
Yeah, eat out to help out.
Yeah, thank you. And I don't want to hear those words again. But you like literally running a nightclub night with a band on stage, and I can't sit near my friends. They're sitting like 2 meters on a different table. So it was like 2 meter thing. So yeah, like, a 1,000 cap venue went from down to like 200 cap, and you can't sustain. Obviously there was help from the government, but luckily we had like the most mad opening. So the first couple of months, like, we absolutely flew. We were around 7 days a week, and that allowed us to kind of weather it out with some government loans and stuff like that. So we just about hung on by the skin of our teeth, and then thankfully sort of opened up, and then things got back to sort of relatively normal quite quickly after that. And we had a few little bumps along the way, standard with that whole like Boris Johnson fiasco. We won't go into that, but we managed to weather it out. But that was my time of being at home. There was nothing I could do. There was literally nothing. Like, we were closed, man. Like there was nothing. I was doing nothing. I was like, how do I put this time to use? Yeah.
Now, in terms of like experience-wise, were your other co-founders, were they experienced entrepreneurs, or were this also like their first foreign entrepreneurship?
Yeah.
So you're all green.
So my co-founder was an ops director of another massive kind of a property and hospitality mix company in London, and the other one was a ops director as well for another hospitality group. So we'd never been co-founders in that situation.
Good corporate roles to have, though.
Yeah.
Good corporate roles to have in terms of trying to deal with potential problems that you guys would have faced. But like, how did you guys emotionally, because 3 months is nothing. You just started,
Wow.
you've never had any sort of like chaotic experience as a business owner before, and you get probably the one that is going to go down the generation as like one of the worst times ever in history. Like, how are you guys individually coping with that?
I think you just got to take it day by day when you're going through those type of experiences. Like, you know, you can crumble. And this is kind of probably why I've stuck with Up the Gains, because the resilience of that you find in those times, you know, if that doesn't break you, then it will make you, right? And that's like, we could have given up easily, just given up and shut the doors, never come back. But, you know, we had a dream. We just started this place. It was sick. You know, we wanted to get it back open because we've seen it rammed. So, you know, it was putting in processes, learning things. How can we come back? Yeah, you know, how... And actually, we were doing some cool stuff. So, because it was a music venue, restaurant and bar, we had some sick acts come through, and obviously the acts were at home as well. So we started doing live sessions, online sessions with some of the music artists we were working with, creating content with them, because, you know, we can get out and about, but we couldn't open the venue, doing stuff outside on behalf of the brand. So we dove into social media and really kind of like had a little bit of fun that way. And that kept us all sane, because we were actually improving the brand. So when we come back, people were like, oh yeah, I like all those guys. They did that cool thing in COVID, and you know, they're open again. Let's go. You know, so it kind of helped.
The work.
Yeah.
What would you say was your biggest lesson through that period?
Stay busy. Like, you've always got something to do. Instead of like, what I would say is like, I can't remember the exact quote, but like, when you get knocked down, that's an opportunity in a lot of ways. So that was like it was imposed upon us, but actually it created opportunities in other ways. You know, we did online events, we did other things. We'd never have done that if that hadn't have happened. So we could have just gone and done nothing, but we decided not to, and created what we did. Everyone was selling goodie bags, all of those types of things. We were doing all of that, and it you know, brought a bit of revenue in. It kept a lot of the team in a bit of work, and we managed to give some work to some guys, and you know, those guys desperately needed the money. And you know, hospitality got smacked, man, because a lot of these guys are on 0-hour contracts, right?
Exactly.
So they don't get...
It's no safety net.
Yeah, no safety net at all when that happened to them. And, you know, a lot of the European guys just left, they went home. Yeah. You know, an entire workforce, basically. If you went into a bar in London before COVID, you'd be lucky to find an English person working in a bar, right?
Yeah.
Usually like Italian, Spanish, French, who are fantastic at their jobs, right? And they all went home, and a lot of them have never come back. And obviously Brexit hasn't helped with all of the kind of passport issues of getting visas, but like to actually work in this country again. So yeah, we lost an entire workforce trying to find chefs, all of that type. Mate, it was endless. And so that's why I'm not in it.
Yeah, get me out of it.
Period. And look, it's a physical business, right? And so to bring this back to like business is like your margin in hospitality, if you're lucky, is 10%. If you're lucky. So you haven't got much to play with, and a lot can go wrong quite quickly. Whereas an online business with digital products can be 95 to 97% profit margins. You make it once, you sell it an infinite amount of times. If you don't have enough beer, you've got to buy that beer. It's then got to come, you've got to pay tax on it. Then you can sell it. Then you've got to pay your staff the rent, the energy bills, and then maybe you earn about 20p. It's not really the best business model out there. It's a lot of fun, but it's not a good business model, and it put a lot of these greys on my head. Period. I'm only 35. I should not have those many greys. I'm telling you that.
Man, I hear you. And you could not have gone through that in a worse season. You know, the best of times, you know, it's tough. Like you said, going through that during COVID is, you know, but again, the foundations it would have set up. You don't wish it. You don't wish to go through, but the foundations it would have set for you as a business owner. You mentioned Up the Gains. You know, your stickability with it is just like, this is nothing. Yeah. I've just got to keep talking. Like, this is fine, right? I don't have to deal with some real serious potentials of telling the staff you're not coming in, you're not making money for your family this month. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to go. Yeah. Or that
happened multiple times. Yeah. Multiple times. It would come back, it would get taken away again. And then suddenly it's like, oh, we tried to keep you, really sorry, like, but what can you do? Like you have to be human in a way with but then also it's a business. You want to keep the business going, and these are the unfortunate decisions you have to make. And it tears me apart just even thinking about it, because some of these amazing people, just even just having absolutely no idea what's next, and none of us did. But to add that kind of pressure to someone's life it's not easy, man.
Yeah, it's tough. You mentioned digital products. I've heard you talk about this before, right? So what exactly is a digital product?
This is a digital product.
Yeah.
Podcast is a digital product.
But I can't sell this though.
Absolutely you can.
How?
So you've got sponsors, which you can bring in. So that's a revenue stream. You've got your own products, which you can push products from. You can run your own ads over the top of your own podcast to push your coaching programs, which is, again, another digital product. If you do that online, you can have courses, ebooks, workbooks that you push from your podcast. So you're basically using this as your traffic source, pulling it through into your other products.
AdSense,
100% ads. You hit the nail on the head. Ideally going brand to brand, doing some sort of relationship. I show your ads, you give me X amount of money for the amount of podcast views that you get. So suddenly it's an enormous revenue stream. Podcasts are, for me, one of the best ways of starting something, just because they're just good fun and they're actually pretty quick and easy to put together a lot of the time, especially the more online ones, and then you can move into something like this as you grow. You're smashing it from day one. I'm loving it, bro. Setup is sick. And digital products can be PDF guides, cheat sheets, courses, workbooks, printables. Honestly, the list goes on. Anything.
Why would someone want to buy that though? Why would someone want to buy that stuff?
You don't want to buy it.
I do.
You do, yeah.
I have bought them. But I'm just asking, all these things I'm asking, I'm just playing devil's advocate, right?
Okay,
You know what I'm saying? Why would someone want to buy that stuff?
Because it's, we live on our phones, on our devices. So we now have a supercomputer in our pocket. Everyone does. And so you can learn in any environment, anywhere that you want, and so this is, digital products can be across any niche. It could be I need to learn how to cook. I need to learn how to make money. I need to learn how to speak English. I need to learn how to do anything you can think of.
If I'm sitting there, Sammie, and I'm just some geezer, mate. Do you know what I mean? I'm just some geezer. I know how to do a bit of curry. Yeah. Why is someone going to pay me? For what?
Depends how much you want it. If you really want to learn, going back to the thing is never stop learning, right? Instead of having to get up, get dressed, put your clothes on, go and sit in a classroom while someone teaches you that, you don't even know whether or not the person teaching that has ever done it themselves. Let's not go into school and university, right? The biggest fast going on the planet. Designed to create workers rather than things. But if you're in that situation, that person you might be learning from might be the best in their field, based in, I don't know, Ohio, America or whatever. But he's the best at cooking curry, whatever that might well be. He's legit. Probably should have said India, but he's the best in the world. And you can learn from him in an hour for £29. You can get his 3-hour workshop. Sick. I want to cook curry. I want to impress my family when they come round. I want to impress my girlfriend. There's digital products, how to dress properly, how to attract women. If you're an 18-year-old guy and you don't know how to build any muscle and attract any women, then there's digital products for that. And vice versa for women that want to learn how to do makeup tutorials the best. That's a digital product. So it could be free as well. Digital products can be free, and that could be them getting your email address for exchange for that tutorial online. And at the end of that tutorial, they say, hey, buy my lip gloss. So and then suddenly they've got you in another way. So they've turned you from a digital to a physical. And so it's just a journey. And we've all bought a digital product along our way at some point along this time. There's no way we've got to this point in our life where we haven't bought some sort of digital product. And yeah, I'm a massive advocate for them, because for me, it's a way of putting your already existing skills and passions together and creating a business out of that. And that could end up being a side hustle business from your 9 to 5, where you earn a little bit of extra money by running a podcast and then driving a few sales into your ebook or your digital guide or whatever you might come up with. Or it can absolutely explode and you can, earn 7, 8, 9 figures a year from digital products. So it's really how far you want to take it.
Absolutely. That was the way you explained it, that was so good when you spoke about, the best person in Ohio, and, they've stuck a camera on 3-hour masterclass and you get to pay 29 quid and you get to watch that masterclass. Now for them, they've done it once. 100,000 people can spend that 29 quid towards that. So because some might be thinking, how's it gone from 29 quid to 7 figures? Because literally he's created that. How many people would actually want to know how to cook a banging curry from the best in the world? You listen, you don't have to be the best in the world. You might not get 1 million people coming if you're not the best in the world, but you might still get 1,000 people.
That's a really good point. I just want to touch on what you just said there, because that's an enormously good point, is that you don't have to be an expert. And that's what stops a lot of people getting started with this, is that they go, oh, I'm not an expert, I don't know enough about that. Well, I'll tell you a story, is that Frank Abagnale, who is famously played by Leonardo DiCaprio in Catch Me If You Can, wicked movie if you haven't seen it, Tom Hanks, Leonardo DiCaprio going head to head, sick film. But Frank Abagnale basically faked his way to being an American airline pilot by basically forging his names on checks and application forms. Had the pilot's outfit, everything, and used to just clean up, take girls home, have a great time. He was 18 when he was doing this, and he went on to become a pediatrician, a ton of other roles, but one of the most amazing ones was he was a high advanced sociology teacher at one of the top colleges in the US for an entire year. And when they turned around to him and they said, how the hell did you do that? These kids are like super bright, like Harvard level education. You taught them for a whole year and no one said anything. No one found out. He only got found out because the FBI were chasing him and they found out where he was. And he said, well, I only needed to be 1 chapter ahead of them. And I love that. Love that. Because you can just turn around, you can be 1 step ahead of someone. You can turn around and teach them how to get to that step that you just got to. And then as long as you then take the next step, turn around and teach that person to get from step 2 to step 3, then 3 to 4. As long as you're 1 ahead, they still need that information. So you don't have to be an expert. Experts are Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, and if you're in food, your Ottolenghi's or whatever that might well be, right? They're the experts. And yes, you might still go and purchase stuff from them, Teslas or Ottolenghi book or whatever that might well be. But often the people that are just like the home chefs that know how to do like banging barbecue recipe, you're like, cool, I want to get it from that guy because he looks sick at it, but he's only doing this from his house.
Yep.
It's still cool.
100%. 100%. So for example, obviously I've got my coaching program, right? And I have students come on. And I actually say to them, go and speak to my other student, go and speak to this guy, go and speak to this guy. Because he is just on the same journey. He was 3 months ago, he was where you were, right? Now he's actually gotten results. He's secured property deals. Like, that person is a great person for you to speak to, because I get it. You've come here, you've obviously got a certain level of trust for me. That's why you've invested in my program. But at the same time, I'm telling you all of this stuff and you're thinking, yeah, but what I'm saying? You've done so much. Your hair is easy for you now. You can just say this and, the agents are going to be at your feet, which is not true, by the way. But, there's going to be that perception. But if there's someone who's just 3 months, right? They were there 3 months ago. They've gone through that journey and now they're actually securing deals. Go and speak to that person, because that raw feeling of that emotions of, I was also feeling scared, this and that. They get it. They can 100%. Speak to you, so you can learn from that person, right?
Oh, completely. Like, I love that you said that, because it's like nice to see people at different levels of the journey, because that person might jump in and just have these kind of like fears. And a lot of what holds us back is like limiting beliefs that we tell ourselves stuff. If you were to hark back to when you were 5, you believed in everything. You believed everything was true. Like it was only what you've learned that's holding you back. So you learn that Santa isn't true. You learn that you can't play in the NBA. You learn that you can't do all of these things because someone else tells you that that's what's happening. But you didn't start like that. So when you come in to invest in a program, invest in a course, or doing these things, all the things that you're telling yourself that you can't do is something that somebody else has installed into you. Usually your parents, usually some form of close friends and family or society around you has told you and conditioned you to tell you that you can't. There's nothing telling you that you can other than you.
So true, man. And the thing is, people always looking for the negative to determine, the people that they should cut out from their life, because obviously everyone, I'll just cut these people out. But actually, you just need to look close to you and the people who love you and the people who are speaking out of love for you. It's not that they don't want the best for you. You're looking in the wrong places. These are the people who want the best for you, but based on their vision. And sometimes it's a little bit more insidious than that. They're not coming from a malicious place, but based on their impression of you, they might actually think that they're capable of doing it, but they might think you're not capable of doing it. So they start telling you what you can't do based on their perception.
It's a reflection of themselves.
Reflection of themselves. And that's insane that any adult would listen to someone else reflecting on themselves as a yardstick for what they're able to actually achieve, right?
Yeah, exactly. But then going back to your property program, like they look at you as the guy that's gone out and done it. So that should be the person that they should listen to.
Yeah.
Because like most of your teachers teaching you business when you're sitting at uni have never started a business. They've never done nothing. So like how can they be
business?
Bro, like, it's the de facto thing, isn't it? Like if I didn't do music, I would have gone and done business 100%, right? So but they like all of the tutors, they probably maybe did a business and it either failed, or they can teach business because they've read the textbooks. They haven't gone out and done the thing. So always go and listen to the people that have done the thing. So like going back to your program, you've gone out and done the thing. You've built a business around it. And now you're teaching other people how to do the same, which is wicked. But then they're still going to look at you and go, oh, he did it. But then who taught you to do it? Do you know what I mean? You had to go and learn how to do that yourself.
I got mentorship myself.
There you go, right? So I have mentors now. I have coaches now. People say, who's your coaches? I'm just, well, there's that guy. It costs a lot more than what you'd be paying me for the same advice.
Absolutely.
But I still,
Yep.
So that's just the way that like life works. Even we have to have mentors and coaches in our as business owners to still continually grow. Otherwise, we're never going to get to where we want to get to, which is the next step up.
Exactly.
But for you to start on the first step, you often have to work with, someone that you've got to place your trust in someone at some point that's gone out and done something. And that's how you get started.
It's so true. And just a final point on this ladder stuff. You look of, Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
I guess you know who Tony Robbins is. Yeah. Okay, cool. So there's Tony Robbins, someone who, a lot of us who are kind of in this space, we know him, and we've kind of at some point, looked at some of his teaching, whether it's through his books. I actually went to see him last year in Birmingham.
Oh, cool.
Right. But up until last year, I hadn't actually been to see him, but he had been mentoring me for years.
Yeah.
Through his YouTube, through his books. I've got a lot of his books and stuff like that. Cool. But when Tony Robbins wrote Money Master the Game, he went to see people like Ray Dalio, people like Warren Buffett. Yeah. He didn't just sit down and start writing this book. No, because these guys they're running multi-billion-dollar hedge funds that he ain't even got a clue at, and he's Tony Robbins. Do you know what I'm saying? But he hasn't even got a clue. And he's sitting down with these people and they're giving him the game. They're saying like, this is how it's done, right? And he's learning, he's writing all this stuff down. That's mentorship. You're mentoring him, right? So the mentorship, but I didn't have to go to Red Dalio to learn what's in that book.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's the difference. So it's like you don't have to be an absolute expert to actually start this. You just need to be a couple of steps ahead of someone else so you can actually help that person get to where they want to get to.
Exactly right. Just get yourself started. Like, as we're going back earlier to the failure thing, failure is good. So learn from someone a couple of steps above you, fail fast and fail hard and fail lots. Learn from it as you go. And honestly, I guarantee you in 12 to 18 months, you'll be a completely different person. Another thing I would say is, as well, is change your network and your environment. So if your mates all around you are, you know, doing the same old stuff, small town mentality vibe or whatever that might well be, which is totally normal, by the way, because they haven't got out and experienced something themselves. But you need to start surrounding yourself with other people that are like the people that you want to be, or that people that are learning along that journey as well. So you can do that online these days, and, you know, join communities, go to networking events. Every city and town in this country has an entrepreneuring networking event running every single day of the week.
Literally.
And so you can go and start learning, go and meet new people. He'll introduce you to this person, he'll introduce you to that person, and then suddenly your network is your net worth. I really do believe that.
Yeah.
And it can all be either done online, it can all be done in person. If you're an introverted person, you know, chatting away on even the amount of relationships that I've made that have brought business in for me on Twitter is nuts. Just from chatting away to people, and then eventually on a DM they might invite you to an event or a podcast, or they have like a meet up in London, you pop along, you meet them, and that's turned into like massive business relationships that I've had over the years. So especially now for Up the Gains as well, in the digital world, it's crazy who you meet, and you just start, and then slowly you start to increase your network, and you're like, hang on a sec, I now know everyone in this. How do I then meet all the people that are making $1 million a month, 2 million a month? Now I need to go and get in that room. And you suddenly start going, okay, cool, now I need to change my network again. I mean, moving up. And so it's just a value ladder, and you just slowly move up it.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. So there's two ways to make money. I'm sure you would say this, or tell me if there's more. There's obviously, you know, going down the business and actually making more money, or whether it's, you know, business, or if you're an employee or whatever it is, just making money. And then there's actually what you do with your money. You know, how smart you are with your money, how smart you are with your savings. You know, you're smiling. This is kind of where you come in. So can you just tell us how someone can, you know, build wealth without necessarily like building a business?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we've spoken a lot about business, but for those who don't want to start their own business and just want to learn how to build wealth, then there are kind of steps to wealth building. So number one is get yourself to net zero. If you have any kind of consumer debt, like I did, 24 grand, get yourself back to zero.
What does net zero mean?
So no debt.
Okay.
There's good debt and bad debt. Good debt is things like mortgages, student loans, etc., because, you know, they're putting a roof over your head and giving you an education.
Student loans debatable, but, you know.
Very debatable. 100%. Completely agree with you there. You know, I studied music, now I'm doing like personal finance business, right? So, bro, like, you tell me, was that worth 30 grand? Some good parties, but, you know, that's about it. But net zero, like, is no credit card debt or no, like, interest free. If you haven't got, like, it on an interest free credit card, basically just get yourself to zero as fast as you possibly can. And then secure yourself. A lot of people at that point will think like, hey, now I'm going to invest in crypto, and now I'm going to do all of these, you know, I'm going to start buying stocks. That comes, yes, but secure yourself and your family first. And this is the most important step that everybody kind of pushed to one side. So an emergency fund, create that emergency fund. And a lot of gurus out there will say 3 to 6 months, and I don't disagree with them, but start with $1,000 or 500 quid and just get that money away, get it locked away in some sort of ISA environment. We'll get onto that in a sec. And or a high interest savings account, or like savings app these days. And that money is like legit there for if someone drives through your house, or the lightning strikes and hits your roof, or is for there if you get fired from your job and you have no income. What it does, if you slowly then build it up over time, I'm going to talk about how you do that in a sec. If something happens to you, it becomes more of a financial inconvenience rather than the end of the world. You're like, okay, cool, that's just happened to me. Like, I've got the money. I'm fine. When you get to that 6 month period, that 6 month amount, it's the most strangest feeling I've ever had. So I just thought, oh yeah, you know, whatever, you know, emergency fund, yeah, how boring's that, you know? But then when it happened, I was just like, wow, like, I'm good. And do you know what happens when that happens is so empowering to people, is that if your boss is treating you like shit, like, you can turn around and go, well, I'm not having that because I'm good. Like, I'm cool. Like, I can go 3-4 months without finding a new job. You probably won't. Probably find one a lot faster than that. But you can make that decision. And it just gives you choice and freedom. And as we were talking about at the beginning, just by having that, and every single person listening to this podcast can create an emergency fund, and most people don't. And just leave it there. It should just tick away. The second step is then you want to start saving and investing. Now, I have a really clear rule with any money that comes in, and I call it the 5-year rule. So let's just say, for example, you've got £100. Your 5-year rule is any money that you may, even if you think you may need even 1 pence of that money within that next 5 years, is saved. And any money that's you're willing to put away for 5 years or more, i.e. I'm not going to touch it for at least 5 years, is invested. And then what you do is you create yourself, going back to our steps, our 5 steps, you do that for your money as well. So I have 3 steps for my money. So like, what can I do this year? So that's like, I want to go on holiday, I want to save for Christmas, so I have different pots, and you allocate percentages to those pots. Then you have your my 5-year goal, which is a little bit bigger, and that could be, for a lot of people listening to this, like saving for a house, or putting enough money away to upgrade the family car, which is about to break down, or in a few years or whatever. You know, you get it. It's a little bit of a bigger purchase, but again, you're only saving towards that. You're not investing towards that. And then your big goal is your ultimate goal, which is your financial freedom goal, and that's what you work towards by investing your money. And that's kind of if everybody sets themselves up like that, then you'll start to see difference, and it's going to look very different for everybody listening to this. Some people can save 10% of their income, some people can save 25% of their income. Yeah. So don't compare yourself to somebody else. Personal finance is personal, is completely unique to you, and you shouldn't worry, because if I lined everybody up that was on 40 grand a year and everybody did a personal budget, even if I had 1 million people, not one would be the same.
Yeah.
So you're never going to be the same as anybody else, even if you're earning the same money as them. So don't worry about that so much. Just worry about yourself. And if you can only put away £100 a month, £200 a month, great. But when that money comes in, the 5-year rule, split that money up. And that's based on how important your goals are to you. So if you're like, I want to get on the housing ladder, you might put away, with that £100 again, you might only invest £10 of that, and you might put away £90 towards your house goal. Or for someone who's got a house and wants to like level up a little bit, you might you might save 50% and invest 50%. So it's going to look very different for you, and that's going to change at different points of your life. And yeah, that's kind of how I set up.
Okay, I mean, now listen, it's awesome. There's so much information there as well, which is really good. So you guys just go back and play this and slow it down and, you know, put a plan in place. But what about the emotional balance? Because for me, I feel like that's the most difficult part. All right, which is you're not flush anyway. All right, so you're not on a lot of money. Anyway, give a good advice on this, whether you think actually you should probably just start a business, or here's actually a strategy that can help you. But you're not flush anyway. You've got a little bit of debt. You know, let's not go crazy. Let's just say 3 grand, 4 grand debt. But you know, the income you've got coming in is kind of there or thereabouts anyway. You might get a little, you know, there might be a little something if you were super disciplined. You know, how does that person, you know, manage the emotions or be disciplined enough to say, okay, cool, you know, I'm still going to be able to, you know, split whatever I've got left. I don't know if this question is making sense.
No, it does. It does completely. I totally get it. Like, a lot of people are in that situation. You know, I was in that situation. Yeah. You know, earning 30 grand a year with 24 grand's worth of debt. Yeah. Like, so it's totally normal. And the thing is, if you don't know where your money is coming and where it's going, so doing yourself a basic budget, even if it's just a list on your iPhone and adding it up and saying that's how much I spend and this is how much I make. Ideally, go a little bit further and look at your bank statement, spend half an hour a month. If you can't spend half an hour on yourself, you've got a problem, in my opinion. And so just spend half an hour. Like I do it with my partner as well. We have open conversations about money. We have a glass of wine on a Sunday night and we chat about it.
Hopefully like, just a glass.
Yeah. You never know in my house, man. But, yeah, I'm trying to get in shape, so cutting back on that. You know? But having communication between, especially if you've got a partner, having communication like we want to get to X. We overspent on takeaways last month. We did X, Y, and Z. Cool. Like, let's be a bit more careful with that this month. Just having that conversation, just being a bit aware. So awareness is power when it comes to money. And so knowing what's coming in, what's going out, just allows you to like make a bit more informed decisions. And also, most people don't budget. And they think that, you know, wow, I'm on 50 grand now, I don't have to budget. That's like, you know, even Elon Musk has the most detailed budget you could possibly think of. He probably doesn't think about it now, but like, you know, a lot of rich people
in fairness, he's not been paid for the last 10 years.
Yeah, we just got 52 billion the other day. I think he'll be all right. Yeah, no, I think he's all right, let's not use that example. But a lot of like millionaires will budget to the absolute T, knowing what's coming and what's going and where their money is. And you can make, going back to your original question, the person in debt with that type of money, just by putting that budget in place, you might notice things that you didn't necessarily think about. Like, oh my God, I spent 230 quid on Uber last month and I'm on 30 grand a year and I've got 4 grand in credit card debt. But if I put that £200 towards that 3 grand and I used the £30 and took the bus,
10%. Yeah.
It's not going to take as long for you to pay off that debt. The other way of looking at this as well, especially if you're on an average salary or in around that pool, is you can do smaller side hustles, which are like little more one-offs. So you've got things like online surveys and mystery shopping, which you can do in your own time.
Yeah, so you talked about that the other day. You know, how much money can people actually make? Because I've always looked at that like, you've got to be here for years to make money out of this. So what is it?
You do. Yeah, like, but if you're sitting watching Netflix, you could have the laptop open or your phone open with a survey, doing a multiple choice survey and making money while you're watching Netflix. Yeah. Or you're sitting on the bus to work.
How much did it pay you? How much did it pay you per survey?
Really varies, but anything from like 50p, which takes like 2-3 minutes, to bigger ones, which can be like, you know, 6, 7, 8, 9 pounds, which are like 10, 15 minutes. So it's not bad though. It's not bad, is it? It's not bad. No. Like, it's not going to make you rich, but it is an extra grand a year.
It's a day job. If I don't know how it works if you can get those big servers, but if you can get the £7 one, I mean, listen,
15 minutes.
Yeah, you do a few of them. What was done an hour? 15, 7, 14, 28. Listen, there's worse jobs.
Yeah. Exactly. You know, it's 28 quid an hour, and if you add that up, it's not bad. Yeah. So, you know, these ones do come a little bit few and far between. I don't want to paint the wrong picture of this, but they are out there. And, you know, mystery shopping jobs, you get paid to go into a shop and do a couple of tasks, talk to the guy behind the till, or even to go out to a restaurant and like have an experience with your partner. Like, I've done a few of them, they're wicked. Get sent to a new restaurant opening to like...
And free.
Free night out and get paid for it. Amazing, like wicked. So there are some good opportunities out there. So like what I tend to, when people ask me what to do, and I often get these messages like, hey, I've got this situation going on, and I just go, okay, like run a time evaluation on your life right now. Like, when do you wake up most days? What do you do during that period? And, you know, after work. So mark out in your day how many spare hours that you have. So usually most people, it's 2 to 3 hours a day, which they're either like scrolling on their phone. If you just look at your screen time on your phone, that's a good place to start. It's a good place to get some time back. And then if you just flip half of that time, so 90 minutes a day, into something which is productive, either doing online surveys, launching a little side hustle business, you know, starting a social media channel, selling some digital products, whatever that might well be, you'd be amazed at how quickly your life starts to look completely different. And suddenly you just come into a different mentality of using your time wisely. Whereas a lot of people get stuck in a rut, and that's because they're paid a salary that's comfortable. You know, the bills are covered, they got a roof over their head, they get fed every night, they're doing their thing. Like, they're like, oh, okay, you know, everything's cool.
What's the problem?
But well, you know, yeah. But you know, is that a life? You have to be the one to decide that. And if it's not, then you need to start looking. And time evaluations are massively powerful, because when I started up the games, I was up at 5, I worked till 9, I got on the train to London, worked on the train to London, did my hospitality business job, left there at like 6, 7. Some days I'd have to stay late, yes, when we have big shows on, and then I'll, you know, but most of the time, get home, see my partner, have a bit of dinner. She'd go off to watch Love Island, and I'd sit up till, you know, midnight working on Up the Gains. So how much do you want it? How much do you want it? And if you really do, you'll find a way, or you really will find a way. So like the everyday individual with a little bit of debt there, you can side hustle your way out of that in under a year if you put your mind to it. There's so many opportunities out there. You know, as I say, you've got a supercomputer in your pocket. Turn the doom scrolling into something useful, and you'll find that, you know, your financial situation can change really quickly.
Crazy, amazing, bro. Just quickly, just before I come on to the final question, what is Up the Gains? Obviously, I know the podcast, I know that, but the way you kind of talk about it, you talk about it as if it's like it's bigger, like it's something special. And if it's just a podcast, not just a podcast, then that's great, because I love, you know, when, you know, people always say to me right from the very start, when you talk about your company, you always say we. I'm like, yeah, because that's how I see us, right? So that's how I'm gonna speak about it, like where we're going, not like, oh, me, my business. Like, no, we, our company, this is what we do. So like, what is Up the Gains?
So the number one mission is to make Britain financially fit.
Okay.
And so I want to reach 1 million people and change 1 million lives. Wow. And so to do that, we operate everywhere. The podcast is what you came on, but we've got 130,000 followers on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're on YouTube. We have a website with over 300 free guides. We've got an online community of over 30,000 people. So if basically I kind of had this conversation with myself, is that we all learn in different ways. Like, you know, I like watching YouTube videos and listening to podcasts. I can't necessarily read blogs, but I can write them. But other people like reading over watching or listening. So however you like to learn, we are there delivering the same information, but just packaged in different ways. So really it is an education brand, a financial education brand. And yeah, Martin Lewis, I'm coming for you, bro. And that's the way I see it.
Straight up calling out. Man called him out by name. Hey, listen, you heard it here first.
Well, look, he sold his business for, I think it was £86 million.
Wow.
To Money Supermarket Group. Yeah. And he's affecting lives on a daily basis. But as I say, his target audience is extremely different to mine, and so there's room for us both. I'm only playing him just because you know, he's obviously done amazing things. So you have to aspire to be the best. To, you know, if you want to come try and get up there. So that's the plan, and we've grown crazy in the last 6 months. It's really been quite nuts. Just hired our first 2 members of staff as well. So
amazing. Congrats, bro.
Thank you,
it's
man.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's wild when you get to that
bro.
stage, man. Yeah,
incredible.
I'm really happy.
You kind of answered the final question. I wish I just asked the final question then, but I pretty much framed it in the same way, which is basically, you know, with everything that you have accomplished, you know, so far, like, what remains the need to succeed?
So if you can serve others, you start to serve yourself, and that creates success for you. So if you can help someone achieve that problem or get over that issue that they have, that should be success for you. If you happen to get paid for it, which you are very likely to if you start to do that on a bigger scale, then that is success as far as I'm concerned. So I want to help 1 million people. And if I get paid for it too, fantastic, because that's probably what's going to happen if I help 1 million people. So that's what I see as success as for me. And, you know, as I say this a lot, but I used to send people pissed home in an Uber and now I put that money back in their pockets. So it's a very different feeling for me. And actually, like, that's the feeling that like gets me up in the morning and gets me going, is that I want to help as many people as possible, and just kind of show, like, we've got a problem with financial education in this country. Like, it's just no one, we don't get taught this stuff in schools, and then we don't have any way of learning about it when we really need to come and learn about it. We're already, you know, $4,000 in debt, and we don't know suddenly how did that happen, man? And so success for me is changing that mentality as early as possible in people's lives. So yeah, that's my need for succeed.
Brilliant. Sammie Ellard-King, thank you very much.
Thanks, man. It's been really good fun.
Awesome, bro.
Appreciate it.